Hey folks, Hal Shurtleff here with Camp Constitution, and I am with Ken McKay. Ken, introduce yourself to the millions of viewers on our YouTube channel.
I'm Ken McKay. I'm with the Massachusetts Oath Keepers. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a volunteer, work with veterans.
And we're here at the Massachusetts Archives, which is in Dorchester, a section of Boston, where we have in the basement of this archives the marker, I call it a marker, a Confederate marker that was on George's Island. So Ken, talk a little bit about that.
Well, I call it more of a headstone. This lists the name of 13 Confederate veterans, and I will call them veterans as they were granted federal veteran status in 1906. This lists the names of the men who died on George's Island at Fort Warren while a prisoner of war during the Civil War. The monument was taken down by order of Governor Charlie Baker because people's feelings were hurt.
And this was about 2 years ago.
Roughly.
2016?
It was right about this time 2 years ago, yeah. That it was first it was covered up for a while because, you know, you covered up.
Covered with plywood.
Yep.
And the marker was donated by the now defunct Daughters of the Confederacy, the Boston chapter.
Yes.
In what, 1963?
About that.
And it's really just a giant granite slab with the names of the men who died at Fort Warren on George's Island, who were prisoners of war. And then it just mentions, you know, donated by the Confederates, Daughters of the Confederacy. By the way, the Daughters of the Confederacy also donated money to the Rindge, New Hampshire. There's a monument, a ladies' monument there from the 1960s. You know, I guess that will have to come down next. So what do you think precipitated this removal of this marker that's been there for almost, what, 55, 60 years?
People's feelings. People's feelings over facts is what happened. Again, these guys were given federal veteran status in 1906. They are veterans. This was essentially their headstone. Unfortunately, there are those who think that their feelings have more basis in reality than fact. Yes, fact, the Confederacy existed. Yes, fact, slavery existed. Why would we forget that it existed? Because if you try to erase history, you're doomed to repeat it.
What's fascinating is that this trend is a relatively new trend, the last 5 or 6, maybe 10 years, to take down various monuments. But it's not going to stop with Robert E. Lee or General Stonewall Jackson. It's going to stop when all of our history is removed. And it's an interesting fact, too. There's a group called the CAIR, C-A-I-R, Committee of American Islamic Relations, and they are very much in favor of removing our history. And that's what they do in Muslim countries. When they're previously Christian nations, they will destroy every vestige of its past history. And whether we like the history or not isn't the issue. It's history and facts, as you said. So the monument, this 3-ton slab, is downstairs in the basement, and we were here trying to get, we both of us been making phone calls and getting to run around, call our state rep, call our state senator, call the Secretary of State's office, and they put us in touch with the guy over here, and the guy over there says, well, I'll get back to you, and no one's getting back to us. What would you like to see happen to the monument? Well, or the grave marker?
Yeah, the veterans themselves were originally buried at George's Island at Fort Warren. In 1891, those bodies were moved over to Governor's Island. And again, in 1906, they were moved over to the military fort on Deer Island, which is now an MWRA water treatment facility. The cemetery that exists there was initially for Irish immigrants who were quarantined and who had died of disease. But the veterans' bodies were moved there. So the state has 2 options as far as I'm concerned. Place that marker where the bodies are, where these veterans are buried, and give them their headstone back. Give them their dignity under Mass General Law, Chapter 114. Give them their headstone. Or they can have a headstone ordered, a military headstone, as is afforded to them under Mass General Law, Chapter 115, Veteran Benefits. For unmarked veterans' graves, they are eligible for a military government-funded headstone.
So how can people get a hold of you? We hope that there'd be folks around the country that watch this that would like to help, and maybe something in their community, something like this is happening in their community. So how can people get a hold of you, Ken? If they like?
You can shoot me an email. My email is kenny5074@hotmail.com. Depending on how many I get, I will get back to everybody as soon as I can.
And you're also Massachusetts Oath Keepers
Yes.
Facebook page?
Yes, we check out the Facebook page. You can send a message through Facebook through that page. We used to have a phone number. We don't anymore. Just kind of way too many calls, Antifa types, you know.
Oh, right. That's okay. And if you'd like to get a hold of Camp Constitution, you can also visit us on our website, campconstitution.net, as well as our Facebook page. So with that, we want to thank you, and may God bless you.